I've been trading for 5+ years, and in this video, I'm going to go over and be completely transparent about my March 2025 trading performance. Now, I primarily trade fully algorithmically, which means I don't actually click any buttons to take a trade for my two main markets, which is small caps, so that's equities, and futures, which is ES, NQ, CL, etc. Now, I have actually placed some manual trades for inefficiencies I was exploring in the crypto markets, and I'll briefly mention those in this video as well. Let's first get started with my small caps trading. I'm just going to make my camera a bit smaller here so I can kind of zoom in for you guys. I think this should be fine. There we go. Perfect. So for March 2025, my small caps trading was pretty much break even. I think I lost a couple $100 after all fees and everything. But it was a pretty lackluster month and actually quite a challenging month in small caps. Now in small caps, what I'm referring to here is anything really below 500 or $1 billion market cap. And we are normally shorting them when they are above a certain gap percentage or if there is an extended move in a very short period of time. Now, for those who have been trading small caps, a lot of you will know that they're very cyclical, meaning that they'll have really solid bumps and then really bad periods where they'll probably either be losing a decent amount of money because all the stocks are ripping, or it will just be kind of break even and very choppy. And at least for this past month, that was kind of the experience for me. I was overall losing a lot of this month. I think I really only had one solid day, which was March 10th, where I think I was up like $1,000 or so on the portfolio, and then everything else has basically dwindled down. Now, ever since I've been more focused on my futures algorithmic trading, I have deployed less capital to small caps, but I do keep a small amount just to kind of keep a pulse on it in case it does really bounce back in the future, or if I want to try and size up in small caps. There are some challenges there, but for this particular video, we're going to just keep over my general performance. Now here you can see this is from TraderSync, so my net return was $45. It's okay, I guess, as I didn't really place any of these trades. It was just going all through automation, but yeah, still very break-even month. Biggest profit was $1,500 and biggest loss was $780. Now this was actually, I had slippage on one particular stock. It actually got halted and went above my stop level and I had to exit after, or well, the algo exited after, and that caused me about a $200 slippage on that. So normally I'm about risking 500 to 550 per trade, or at least that's what I've entered. And then obviously you get slippage there every once in a while. And that's why sizing up on small caps can be kind of challenging because you do have those halts and you do have those volatility risks. But I'm very happy that I stuck with the plan. I didn't modify the strategy at all. I didn't change the algo at all. I didn't stop it from running or anything like that. I just obviously maintained the risk levels and kept it running through the month. Overall, there's really no reason for me to optimize for something so small. This was only about 12 trades in the month, so it's not enough data for me to actually have anything that's statistically significant for me to change the particular strategy. So, you know, bad month, but we will have those in trading, and this was only for my small caps trading. Next, let's get into my futures algorithmic trading. Now, to give a small disclaimer, my futures trading results are calculated based on core capital. So this is meaning the percentage returns would be lower when in factoring in leverage / the notional value of those futures contracts. Additionally, these results are based on trading a maximum of 2 contracts per position. Scaling up beyond this, at least from my current testing, would very much likely degrade performance due to either market impact, slippage, or other execution challenges. Not as much market impact, but a lot of people always like to say, well, why don't you scale this up to, 100 contracts or, try and raise a ton of money for it? Well, you have challenges with not all strategies are going to work that well when you try and size them up that way. Now, for my actual equity curve, if any of you have seen my previous recaps, this equity curve is quite challenging. A lot of the other ones have been a bit more smooth. Obviously, they have volatility. Obviously, they have drawdown periods. But this one was very erratic. As we can see, I basically went into a 9% drawdown very early on in the month, and then I recovered up to about being up 6% on the portfolio, then gave back all of it, then went back up again, then gave back all of it, and then finished up the month being up about, I think, if we see here, 8.81%, which was really solid. I had about a 12% drawdown, which is reasonable for my particular portfolio. However, it didn't feel like I was just in a 12% drawdown. I think it was because it was a very big, mix of emotions. Obviously being up, one day of the week, 6%, which is great, and recovering a lot of those losses, and then giving it back within about 2 to 3 days, if I remember correctly, is very tough psychologically. Now, obviously, it is automated, so I don't have those emotions on the individual trades being taken. There were about 219 trades taken over the month. However, what a lot of people don't like to tell you with algorithmic trading is you will still feel emotions managing the actual portfolio and the strategies. You're never really going to be able to escape those, so you're still going to have psychological troubles there. However, for me, it's a lot easier to handle those compared to split-second decisions when actually executing trades. So that's why I like to stick to my strengths, which is more managing the portfolio, developing strategies, modeling, things like that, rather than being in the weeds and actually taking those particular trades. As execution-wise, I probably would have completely messed this up. It was quite a volatile month. Now, as we can see here, I think this is about like 9 strategies or 10 strategies took place this particular month. So actually took a position, sorry, which was basically all my strategies. Currently at the moment, I'm running 10 algorithmic strategies on futures. I've been trying to scale above that, but a lot of the time, any new strategies I've added haven't really improved overall returns or risk-adjusted returns that much, as it's quite hard to get uncorrelated. And especially, I'm recording this in April. My April recap will be a very interesting one to go over because we've had Trump tariffs and the crazy, 2 days where you lose about 10% on SPY and more on NQ, for example. So correlation there is something that's really important. But at least for March, we didn't have that yet. We did have a lot of volatility, nothing compared to April, but it was still quite a challenging month overall. Now, I thought this would be interesting for you guys to see. So 33% of my trades were shorts and 67% of them were long trades. Now, this is quite typical-ish for my particular portfolio. I do have more long strategies than shorts, but as we can see here throughout this month, basically all of my P&L was made up by short P&L compared to long. Long basically lost me money and caused a lot of the drawdown this month, whereas short performed quite decently. So here's the equity curve removing all the long trades and just looking at my short trades. I would have been up around the same amount, I think maybe a bit more, about 10%. But obviously you can't know that this month would be a lot better to just only take shorts. So that's the whole point of having a portfolio where you're balanced out and then you can make more money on the positions that do actually way better compared to the other strategies that fail or make less money. Now, here's actually my correlation matrix for that particular month. Now, I will say correlation matrices don't mean too much when you're only looking over a single month of sample, but it's always good to show how it kind of performed over this month. We see a lot of greens, so a lot of the strategies were not correlated, but we do have highlights of red here and there, which means they were very correlated for that particular position or day. And not too much else to really comment on this. I would obviously like to see it fully green, but there was a lot of volatility. And to actually give you an example of that, if we see the NQ market here, we had quite an aggressive move down, and then we had a small recovery and then move down again. So it very much looks sort of like my equity curve to some extent. Obviously, I capitalized on the shorts on the downside for the last part of the month, but I was getting chopped around a lot in between. And especially if you look at these candles, they weren't all straight down moves. We had a couple days where they were very clean directional moves. The rest of them were a bit choppy. Now, actually, across this period, NQ was down about 7.5% across the same period. So obviously, I outperformed NQ on a 1 month basis, which isn't too much to really think about. It's a very small sample size, but it's at least good to see that the portfolio is working on live execution. Now, to kind of give you a full recap of all my futures, as I mentioned, 8.81% portfolio return, despite the challenging market conditions. So I'm very happy with that. Now, interestingly, 33% of trades were short, and they basically contributed most of my performance this month and completely outperformed my long positions, which is very atypical just to keep in mind. If you look back maybe through my other recaps, a lot of my other months, long trades are normally making up a lot of my P&L. So this month was actually very good to see that I actually had short strategies that could take advantage of this particular market and actually could make a very good return for it. Now, while the drawdown was reasonable of 11.94%, it's definitely on the higher end. I'm not saying that it's a small percent drawdown, but it's reasonable at least for my historical averages. The absolute number wasn't really the issue. It was the volatility this month. It really did get to me a bit. There was a lot of ups and downs, and checking the portfolio, from day to next or from week to week was quite insane to watch. But it was a good learning experience, and obviously I'm very happy that most importantly I stuck to my discipline. I didn't modify the strategies. I didn't turn any of them off. I didn't modify them abruptly because of one particular thing. Now, you will see in April that I did do a small modification because the correlation was just crazy. But for this particular month of March, it was overall fine. I didn't make any changes at all. Now, one particular strategy actually achieved a really solid return of 5.47%, which was a swing mean reversion strategy. That strategy actually had never performed, I think, as good as this, at least in recent sample. So that was really interesting to see. And it was good that it took advantage of the particular market action. And then we can actually see, I think I forgot to mention, one of the other strategies. This was down 7% on the month, which is pretty insane. It gave back pretty much a lot of its previous month's gains for that one particular strategy. So this is one of the really key important points around you never really want to be over-relying on one particular strategy. If you are, obviously you're getting started, so obviously you're going to have to start with one strategy, then build from it there. But if that was the only strategy I was using, I probably would have lost about 3 months of gains, and that would have been a very tough month for me. And then I almost just forgot. Let me just show you my Binance over here. So obviously you can see this is just a new Binance account I loaded up for a particular edge I wanted to exploit. I try and keep them separate so it's just easier to track. And this was just 3 days of the month where it made, I think, 2.5K, which is really solid. It was a very small account. I think it was like 5K, give or take, on this account. And I was exploiting a new inefficiency in crypto. I won't mention the whole specifics of it, but I do want to show you that I'm exploring different areas. And I think that's always worth doing, especially when you're trying to create a portfolio. portfolio, and one of my common things I like to say is like, go where the edge is. Now, obviously, you have pros and cons of each edge, such as in futures, you have really great infrastructure. You're going to have a lot less brokerage issues. You're not going to have anything like, FTX, for example. I use all very solid brokerages like NinjaTrader. But there are a lot more inefficiencies if you're happy taking on that extra risk in crypto. So this was something I was exploring with smaller size just at the end of March, which I thought was interesting to mention, as it is always good to venture out and test new ideas when you can. And if you're wondering the win percent, I don't know why Binance does this. It's a bit of a weird way to calculate it, but they do winning days divided by winning days plus losing days plus break-even days. So that's why it says 9.38%. I pretty much won, I think, 100% or something on all of these days because the trades were really easy to take. And these were actually manually executed. And yeah, that was my March trading. I'm excited to show you guys the April trading one. It's going to be quite a volatile one, as we all know, with Trump tariffs. But apart from that, I hope your month was good, and I'll see you in another video.